Welcome back to the Britt Mayer Show. I am so excited to be joined by Kevin Kiley. He is an American politician, attorney, and a former educator who is now serving as the U.S. Rep for California's 3rd Congressional District since 2023. He is a member of the Republican Party and represented the 6th District in the California State Assembly from 2016 to 2022. I started following Kevin, almost a decade ago when the attack on our medical freedom, especially with our kids, was coming under, it was just the focus out here in California. And Kevin was fighting for our kids' rights to medical freedom. And so I have been I feel like a long time loyal follower of Kevin Kiley and have appreciated him for a long time now. He is currently running for re-election for 2024 United States House of Rep. And I am so excited to have him on in the hot seat today just to chat through some of the never-ending chaos that is California and what he is doing to fight for us. So Kevin, welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thanks, Britt. Great to be with you.
Well, hey, let's just jump right into it. One of the topics that I was shocked by is the legislature's recent vote to give unemployment benefits to illegal immigrants. I will be honest, I didn't even know that that was coming across the legislature. I feel like I'm so on top of it, but that just goes to show you how crazy California is if something like that can slip through. So how the heck is this legal? Is it going to stand? And how much more can Californians take in terms of our money being taken and given to illegal foreigners and illegal pet projects?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable bill. It is passed the California legislature, which of course is run by a supermajority. And right now it's sitting on Gavin Newsom's desk awaiting either his signature or veto. But just to put this in context, it deals with unemployment benefits. And we actually just not that long ago had $31 billion in these unemployment benefits that were totally squandered, that were given away to criminals who defrauded the state very easily, actually. The state was completely negligent in its fraud defenses. So we already gave away $31 billion to criminals. Now we're going to give away more to illegal immigrants. And then, you can also place it in the context of California's policies when it comes to illegal immigration. Of course, under the Biden-Harris administration, we have had this unprecedented explosion of illegal immigration, a total crisis at the border, and it is worse in California than any state, because actually some other states have tried to push back against what Biden and Harris have done with their open border policies, whereas the policy of California has been to open the border even more in every way that they can. So, for example, California is a sanctuary state. California is the first state in the country to provide free health care to everyone who's here illegally, billions of dollars a year, when, by the way, we're cutting a lot of other services for our own citizens. The legislature recently passed a bill to provide illegal immigrants up to $150,000 in down payment assistance for housing. Now, even that one was too much. That one was too much for even Newsom. He did veto that one. But now we have this bill related to unemployment benefits. And so it's no wonder that right now, when you look at the different parts of the border, the San Diego sector in California actually has the most illegal border crossings of any border sector in the country. That's the first time that's been true since the 1990s. So these very terrible policies are clearly having a very negative impact.
Do you think that this is going to stand? Do you think that Newsom's going to veto it like he did the other one, or do you think he's going to put his signature right on it?
Hard to say. I mean, one thing we know about Newsom is that he will generally do whatever he perceives to be in his political self-interest at any given moment. And so I think that he saw with the one about down payment assistance for housing that, for him, that was just like so far off the, a field that even he couldn't go for it. And he probably thought, well, I already provided the free health care, so he sort of checked that box of being the most irresponsible governor on this issue already. So do we really need to do this? I mean, I'm trying to get inside the head of someone whose decisions are completely irrational. So it's a difficult exercise. But I don't know, Britt. I'd be honest with you. I'd say it's like a coin flip. We'll see what he does. He has about, what's today? It's the 18th or something. He has less than 2 weeks now to make a decision.
No, we'll see. Well, he doesn't have his shadow campaign on the line anymore, so it'll be interesting to see what he does with that.
That's true.
Let's talk about the rising crime in California. It is out of control, and I want to share a couple things that actually you had shared. Just to give some context, and for those who are listening and can't see it, on the other side, I'll get your take on it, Kevin, and we can kind of talk through what we saw. But the crime out here in California is absolutely exploding, despite what Democrat politicians want to tell us. And here are just a couple of examples that I pulled. This comes from ABC. ABC News just put this out and said that it's really a sad state to see right now that this is coming to a store near you. Almost everything is locked up in a Rite Aid. So we have this going on, which is it's insane. It's almost like a jail when you go and shop right now. And I actually went to, I don't even remember, some convenience store just the other day in San Diego, and it was the same. It was like everything was in prison, even down to fake nails. That's what I walked past. I'm like,
wow.
It's so out of control. And it's because Prop 47 came into play. And I want to get your take on how Kamala was a part of Prop 47 and why this should concern not just Californians, but all Americans going into this election in terms of how she would lead as president if given the chance.
Sure. Well, Kamala Harris was the California Attorney General when Proposition 47 passed and took effect. And she gave it a major assist with the way that she actually described it on the ballot. She, as the Attorney General, was the one who actually wrote in the description when people voted, what they saw for what it would do. And the architect of the measure recently said that he was very appreciative for the favorable description that she gave, and then she was the one that was then in charge of actually implementing it. And she followed Prop 47 with a number of other very weak, soft on crime propositions, which, as you described very well, has led us down this road towards increased criminality and lawlessness in California. And it is crazy that folks will try to deny that when, number one, the evidence bears it out very clearly that we have more retail theft, we have more violent crime than most other places in the entire country. When, number two, Californians say by overwhelming margins that they feel like our state and our cities have gotten less safe. And number three, we have the stark scenes that you described. And I've noticed this, by the way. I'm on the Judiciary Committee in Congress, and we visited a number of high crime jurisdictions across the country, like Philadelphia, like Manhattan, like Washington, D.C. itself, like Chicago. And you can tell an area that has very bad crime policies because you see things like open-air drug markets, which we, of course, see in San Francisco and L.A. Folks just out there, without any consequence that you have to wade through these to go about your basic activities. And then number two, you see the stuff locked down in the stores, just even basic items locked down in a Rite Aid or a Walgreens or a CVS or what have you. We're not talking about jewelry stores here. We're talking about shampoo or the nail polish that you were talking about or whatever else it might be. So those are the scenes that are all too familiar for folks in a lot of different parts of California. And the public alarm and dissatisfaction with all of this has sparked this movement to undo a lot of the damage that has been done. And it's taken the form of this proposition that we'll now have a chance to vote on in just a few weeks. It's called Proposition 36. It's going to reverse most of the worst parts of Proposition 47. It's going to restore real consequences for retail theft. It's going to get drug offenders into treatment, mandatory treatment, so they can overcome their addictions. It's going to toughen penalties for fentanyl dealers and make it easier to charge them with murder, because that's what it is when someone dies. It actually is murder. And I think it's going to go a long way towards setting California on a new course. Now, Gavin Newsom has fought tooth and nail to stop this initiative. He came up with a number of crazy schemes to try to keep it off the ballot. He wanted to cancel the vote to stop Californians from even voting on it. He's been a champion of Prop 47 every step of the way. He defends it to this day. But the people of California disagree with him. Just this morning, there's a poll from the Public Policy Institute of California that shows this proposition winning by an overwhelming 71% to 26% margin. That's basically unheard of for a proposition of California.
Yeah,
even
especially
Democrats,
in California.
In California, even the Democrat voters are in favor of it by a 2/3 margin.
Wow. So it's crazy that Newsom wanted this off ballot, and now you have, like what you just said, 2/3 of Democrats actually supporting it. It just shows how out of control crime has become in California. Do you see this as a precedent for a Kamala presidency in terms of what the United States at large could look like? Is California the canary in the coal mine?
It absolutely is. And, Kamala Harris had said so herself. She said that California is a role model for what can be done across the country. And you can see the way that she has brought these reckless policies first to San Francisco and then to California as a whole. And she's promised that California is a role model for the country. It's simply indisputable that that's what she would do if she actually became president. She was sort of one of the first of these, what they call themselves, progressive prosecutors. The idea there is that we're just not going to prosecute people. And so it's a way to kind of get rid of the criminal laws without having to go through the process of repealing them, because you just turn them into a dead letter. You don't actually go out and enforce them. And that's largely spawned, for example, the lawlessness in San Francisco. And in fact, her successor in San Francisco is someone that a lot of your followers might know, George Gascon, assuming that you have a lot of folks in LA. He's now the district attorney of Los Angeles, has wreaked havoc on that city. And in fact, he's going to lose his reelection, it looks like, overwhelmingly in just a couple months. But he was Kamala's successor, and she endorsed him. And so she clearly endorses these policies of not prosecuting people and letting crime spread.
Yeah, birds of a feather. I think it's important that people understand her history, like you said, in being so soft on crime and what it's done to first San Francisco and now to California. I'm all the way down in San Diego, and I see the repercussions of Kamala Harris here in California. Okay, last thing that I want to chat with you about is Gavin Newsom and him tackling memes and parody that are, quote, a threat to democracy. This just gets me. I don't know how you feel about it, Kevin, so I really want to hear your thoughts. But for those who don't know, what's happening in California right now is Gavin Newsom has decided that memes and parody that use AI to joke, but almost to point at how absurd certain ideas are in campaigns and in this political moment that we find ourselves in. Well, if you use AI to show the insanity or to poke fun at or to create creative parody, it is now illegal and banned in California. Gavin Newsom decided that this was something he really wanted to tackle because nothing else in the state requires his urgent attention. Just this morning, it actually broke 2 hours ago that after he signed these 3 landmark proposals up in San Francisco, they are already being challenged in court. 2 of these 3 laws were challenged in court through a lawsuit filed Tuesday in Sacramento. Those include one that takes effect immediately that allows any individual to sue for damages over election deepfakes, while the other requires large online platforms like X to remove the deceptive material starting next year. And then this lawsuit that was filed claims that the laws censor free speech and they allow anybody to take legal action over content that they dislike. Now, Newsom's spokesperson, Izzy Garden, said, "It is unclear why this conservative activist is suing California. This new disclosure law for election misinformation isn't any more onerous than laws that are already passed in other states, including Alabama." Your take on all of this, Kevin?
It might be easier at this point to list the laws that Newsom has signed that don't violate the First Amendment, because he's signed so many of them that are so clearly an affront to free speech. Just a couple weeks ago, a court actually struck down a law he signed that required social media companies to report to the government what kind of content they're choosing to prioritize. X actually sued about that, and the court ruled in their favor. Or not that long ago, Newsom signed a bill making it so doctors could be prosecuted or have their licenses taken away if they spread COVID misinformation, quote unquote. You remember that one, I'm sure. And the court struck that down. And in fact, the legislature and Newsom then had to repeal their own law in humiliation. And so now his latest affront to the First Amendment was triggered by a video of Kamala Harris that was clearly a satire that sort of highlighted a lot of her absurd policies and reckless policies that she's had. And so Elon Musk shared this on X, and so Newsom replies and says, "We're going to make this illegal in California." Yeah. Well, this is crazy. This is like taking a Saturday Night Live skit and saying, we're going to outlaw that. There's a skit of someone pretending to be Donald Trump. That's not really Trump. We're gonna outlaw that.
Yes.
You can't do impressions of someone. I mean, satire has been foundational to First Amendment jurisprudence throughout the history of our country. It's one of the ways that actually we hold people in power to account is through the power of laughter, through the power of satire and parody, and it's an effective tool in highlighting sometimes the absurdity of policies or of sort of getting at a very fundamental truth. And so for Newsom to come in and say, we're going to pass a law to make that illegal because I don't like the way it's making Kamala Harris look bad is really a chilling thing, and just goes to show you how little regard he has for our Constitution, and certainly how little regard he has for it and compared to his own ability to hold power.
That's so well said. And, just to take it one step further, I was doing research on this, and I don't know, you probably know by now, but Hillary Clinton just floated a couple days ago charging criminally Americans who spread what is determined to be wrong speak, misinformation. And she just announced, I think earlier today, maybe yesterday, that she is now a top advisor for Kamala Harris. So this era that we find ourselves in, where censorship is just massively on the rise, but you're hearing leaders and would-be presidents and governors, actively really taking down free speech. I just think that this is such a rising concern and such a red flag on where we are in our country's history. What do you think about that before we sign off?
Oh, I do 100%. And we've seen like never before the powers of government mobilized for the purpose of silencing citizens. It's one of the things that we've really focused on in the Judiciary Committee these last couple years, is investigating, in particular, the Biden administration's use of censorship, threatening in some cases, or certainly applying pressure to social media companies to censor American citizens, oftentimes censoring true information. You might have seen Mark Zuckerberg recently had to come out and say, oh yeah, it's true. We were pressured by the Biden administration to take down posts, and this was wrong. And some of the posts they took down even turned out to be true around things like the lab leak or other issues related to COVID,
Shocker.
right? Yeah, exactly. So this is one of the most important, in some sense, the most important issue that we face as a country, is because if we cannot have free and open debate, then you can't have a functioning republic or democracy that's ultimately, where power ultimately resides in the people. And so I'm glad that we've been able to bring some of that to light. But there certainly are some in government right now who would rather we not have free speech, and we need to fight back against that.
Amen, brother. So tell everyone how they can find you. And you have been fighting the good fight for so long. You know that I'm a huge fan, and I'm so thankful for your time here today. How can people find you, and then how can they donate to your campaign?
Yeah, well, you can follow me on, I guess you're going to share this on Instagram and so forth.
It'll be shared all over the place, yes.
All over the place. Okay, perfect. On Twitter or X, Instagram, Kevin Kiley is my name, Kiley. And then also on my website is electkevinkiley.com, or you can just Google Kevin Kiley for Congress. It'll come up, and you can support us there. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you, and for all that you've done to bring light to the insanity that's happening in California. I think that more and more Californians, through the sort of movement that you're helping to build, are coming together around returning our state to common sense. And so I really appreciate everything you're doing in that fight.
Well, thank you, Kevin. It's always a pleasure. We'll have you back on again soon.
I look forward to it. Thank you.